From recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex, I'm your host, Steve Urban, and here is your Riderflex episode of the day. And on today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, what are the 3 most common mistakes I see people make in the interview? I'm pretty sure these are the top 3. I don't know. I'm not keeping like a stat sheet on it or anything, but here are 3 common mistakes. Now, when you hear these, some of you are going to be like, are you kidding me? People do this? Yes, they do. We see this every day when we interview people. 3 common mistakes. And by the way, it's also a quick way to get eliminated from consideration. 3 common mistakes during the interview. Are you ready? Number 1. You're not going to believe it. Get ready for this. Number 1, they didn't do any homework on the company they're applying for. It blows me away how many times I get somebody on an interview and they didn't do any homework on the company. They barely looked at the website. I mean, they can't really speak to anybody that works there, the executives, the product, the mission, the values, anything. Like, it's so common. I don't know how often people do. I don't know what the percentage is, but probably 50% of the time we talk to people, they really didn't do a good job studying the company. So as a recruiter, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell do you even know you want to work there? You haven't even studied the company. How do you know you want the job? Like, what are you doing? So that's the first mistake I see people make. They don't study the company or the executives or any of the team members that work there. They just can't speak to any of it. I know, that's hard to believe. That's the first mistake that I see. Number 2, common mistake during an interview is they don't take any notes. They don't write anything down. I'm telling them. Okay, they don't take notes. They don't act interested. So that just tells me, do you care? Like, do you want to write this stuff down? I'm giving you some good tips here. Like you might want to write this down. So not taking notes during the interview, it shows a lack of interest. It's like you're not prepared. You don't care. You know, you're not enthusiastic. So not taking notes. That's another huge common mistake. And then the last tip for this podcast, or number 3, is they don't have any questions prepared. I'll say, all right, so Johnny, what questions do you have for me? And then they'll be like, well, I don't really have any. Oh my gosh. Always have questions prepared. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you should have questions prepared. You know, the same notepad where you're taking notes, there's another little sheet off to the side with your questions that you prepared ahead of time. Now, I know all of this seems like a no-brainer, right? Some of you are listening to this podcast, laughing, probably thinking to yourselves, doesn't everybody do this? No. I'm blown away by how many times people don't do these 3 things. Okay. Study the company. If I sense that you haven't studied the company, and by the way, if you're interviewing with Riderflex, the recruiting firm that's trying to that has the client, if you haven't studied Riderflex or the company you're applying for, we're not going to put you through. You're not getting the job. Okay. And then, like I said, the other 2 things are take notes for goodness sakes, and have questions ready. Always have a few questions ready. By the way, on the questions that you do have ready, don't ask questions that are evident and like right on the website already. Don't ask anything that you should already know, is my point, right? If you ask a question like, where's their home office? You didn't look at the website. Come on, man. You gotta, come on. Anyway, there you go, folks. There is your Riderflex tip of the day. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.